All right, guys. Hey, it's been a couple weeks since I've been able to work on the truck, but let's get back to it in a quick update. So I finished the mounts on the engine, and I did this mount for the transmission. And so I don't know how to build a semi. So I just thought anywhere, if we have to weld, that we don't want the weld to be holding the vertical load. So I didn't want this weld to just be to the bottom of the frame and then to the top of the tubing, you know what I mean, and bring the tubing out. And so you can see we S-curved in. So we hooked that frame rail. This is 1/4 inch material. So we hooked that frame rail on both sides and then brought it underneath. So the steel itself is carrying the load. I don't know, that's farmer engineering for you. Then that same 3/8 by 6/6, 3/8 by 6-inch flat iron made the mount so we can get to our bolts. So we can actually replace this mount if we need to, or service, you know. The joint I got off, and that is down at Fleet Pride. They're going to find me a slipper joint to build a little drive shaft between here. And I have several boxes showed up. So to come in, we got our fan clutch and fan blade, because the 2003 is electric, so I went to an 02 for the normal mechanical viscous drive. And then our engine harness come back and a little fuel block-off kit that will work with our new fuel pump filtration system. Today, let's get that fan assembly on. Then we can get our harness. I'll get the harness first, then get that fan assembly, and then we can get our power steering pump in here. Looks kind of nice sitting in there. And then with that harnessing on, that'll be a lot of work right there. But then that fuel block goes in here, connects these banjo fittings, and then we just have to figure out plumbing for that fuel pump. And I'm thinking that fuel pump system can just sit right there on the frame rail. You got a mountain of room. And then, like we said in the first video, got all the cooling system ready to go. So that'd be the next task. Get this fan on and stuff, and then get that cooling system bolted up here. Boom. So I've never built a semi before, so I don't know what standard protocol is. I am using grade 8 with a lock nut for our engine mounts. So this side has these 4 bolts right here. The other side will be similar. And then I thought, you know, a shoulder coming through most of the thickness of steel would help make it a little bit tighter, a little better fit. But yeah, so I also got to get this pipe off and then manufacture something for exhaust. Woohoo! Well, got the turbo return line in. It's kind of just a simple little kit. Pull the frost plug out of here and then bolt it up here and flex it between the turbo and the mount. Make sure it's not rubbing on either one. And then with turbo return, I don't like that hard 90, but it is what it is. The factory one was almost that way. But no kinks, ain't rubbing on anything. Hopefully it's good to go. Right, so here's my engine harness. Here's one of their new harnesses. There's our OBD, so we can run that into the cab. I haven't read the instructions yet to see where this is going. They did give us a pretty nice instruction cable. So yeah, yep. So they tell you how to wire in everything, even how to get your grid heater back to working. So let's get this back on the engine, then we'll worry about plugging this in and figuring all this mess out. There we go. ECU's back on. The engine harness, or not engine, but the engine harness is back in place. For right now, the wires from the fuel pump, I just zip tied them out of the way because I don't know if I'm going to need them or not. So here's our OBD port. And here's a fuse box. We can just screw that to the firewall. We'll get our OBD ran in the cab, and the rest of these wires hanging here are our key switch power, battery power, and ground. So we can route them over to the battery. I got the throttle position sensor somewhat mounted, it's just loose. And here is the throttle rod. So this is going to work out rather quick. I just have to extend it from here to here, and it's a pull, and it looks like it has about enough movement. So by golly, I'll just extend him up to here. I'm trying to walk here, goofball. The only thing they did on one of their modifications was they got rid of our alternator harness, and I was going to take the wiring out of this harness to begin with, but I wanted the plug-in so I could wire into here. So I might just end up taking this alternator apart, seeing what I can get, or if you can get, I don't know if you can get a single wire with this kind of mounting, but I'll figure something out there. Our starter circuit gets to stay in place, so the only thing I need to do is get our big battery cable to the starter, and then this wire I can replace with a lighter wire to just run the solenoid of the starter. And then my heater hose hookups right here to right here. So that, it kind of coming together. So let's open up our fuel pump kit just to see if that needs any of that other wiring or what kind of wiring that thing needs, and see what we got going on. That's a heck of a kit. Okay, we got our couple filters, our pump housing, some frame bracketry, nice heavy, that's heavy stuff. Boy, that's nice. Harnessing, we got a relay involved, all our plumbing and fittings, and a bunch of hose, and hopefully an installation kit, some instructions somewhere. So yeah, am I gonna have the only grain truck with a bunch of like custom performance stickers? Do I need to, like back in the day on our pickups in school, you had your Edelbrock and your Jegs and Holly stickers all over your truck. So yeah, this is a intimidating looking kit with all this harnessing, but it looks like they got a nice loomed up harness, so it should be fairly straightforward. So I'll dig around and see if we got instructions. So I open up the harness. That's pretty straightforward. You have a relay to plug in up there into the harness. They also have a fuse on the power side. So it's pretty simple. You just got your power and ground, and then you got a long little harness to catch key power. So when you shut the key off, your relay shuts off, and then the long harness to plug in power for the motor. Fairly straightforward. Put that bushing on there, and we'll get that filter in place. And then it's just a matter, so for right now, figure out what bracket works best for the frame that I have. I know I said I was going to put it on that side, but on this side, we don't have the exhaust. We have this huge open cavity back here. I'm thinking mount it somewhere here, and then there's plenty of room to drop the filters below, get it away from the frame a couple inches, but the sucker's heavy, so I don't want to drop it. But yeah, I think we'll go somewhere right here, and then maybe take advantage of an existing hole in the frame, or yeah, figure something out. But by golly, that might work. You could even, in all honesty, we could actually even mount him down inside the frame. Kind of tuck it away there, and yup. Then we can take advantage of a couple existing holes in the frame. Oh boy, you gotta love it when it's almost like this project was meant to be. Right, so working on the fuel tank now. We need to add a return line. So with a gas engine, you just have a draw line. You don't have return on gas. So with diesel fuel, we need a return. This is the plumbing, the size of plumbing. So this was the fitting that was in the tank. And then it had a hose that went down to the pump. So I can either put a long straw on him as the suction tube, but all I need to do is get a pipe thread. He's pipe, so just a pipe to this almost half-inch hose, so that will connect there. So then whether he's return or suction, that's whatever. But then I need to get another one of these fittings uptown or something like it, that can either then be the draw straw or the return. So it's time to run to the hardware store, and then I need a T this size, because we got return off the engine, and there's actually a return off of the pump itself. So time for a hardware store trip. Well, there you go. Simple. Works. We'll drop him back into place. I'll get the other one back in first, and then the other one will be my return, and that's my pickup. There we go. Here's our main line coming up. Our return line tees into the return of the pump assembly, and our suction tube runs under the truck. This won't be there, that'll be up there. There's our block, dipsticks back in place. Nice. Got fuel. Haha. System is primed, and it works off the key switch. Haha. Nice. There we go. All right. Let's hook the hose back up, and I kind of got the wiring. I'm just kind of tying it up to the engine to figure out how to route this stuff.